Okay, so here we are, excuse me, with chapter 4, attitudes, emotions, and ethics. It's also the final chapter in the first module of the class. Okay, so attitudes and affect. Attitude, psychological tendency, something with favor or disfavor. People have attitudes about working weekends. People have attitudes about having to work through lunch. People have attitudes about, how a product should be sold and presented. Okay, an affect is the emotional component of the attitude. How does it make you feel? Okay, so we talk about this ABC model of an attitude. Affect, behavior, and cognition. Cognition is how you think. So affect is physiological indicators, which means things about that happen in within our body. I don't like my boss. Behavioral is how you behave, essentially, and what some verbal statements about what your intentions are going to be. I want to transfer to another department because I don't like my boss. Or I'm going to go find a new job because I don't like my boss. Or I'm going to go complain about my boss to his boss. And then cognition is how you think about it, what you think. I believe my boss plays. The reason I don't like him is because I believe he plays favorites at work. I don't like him because I don't think he works that hard, or he doesn't share enough information, that kind of thing. So these are how you identify people's attitudes. The physiological indicators, how they behave, and then what they might say. All right, cognitive dissonance. Cognitive, which I just mentioned, is how you're thinking, the way you think. And dissonance means break, so it's a break in the thinking. We also talk about cognitive dissonance in marketing when we talk about post-purchase behavior or buyer's remorse. And, excuse me, so cognitive dissonance is essentially when how you behave is different from your attitude about it. So you might be told, your boss might tell you you have to lay off X number of people because we need to save money. And maybe your attitude is about laying people off. You have a negative attitude about it, but you have to do it anyway. So when you have to do things you don't think you don't necessarily believe in. So what is it that influences our attitudes? Essentially direct experience, things that have happened to us, and social learning, things that we've been told by our family, by peer groups, by religious organizations, by culture, that kind of thing. So one is part of our attitude is based on our own experience, and part of it is based on what we understand from other people and other institutions. It's important to be able to, in ourselves, understand where our attitudes come from. Do they come from our own experience, or do they come from what other people have told us? And in some instances, it's important to understand both and sort of meld those two together. Sometimes your direct experience has been completely different than other people's direct experience. And sometimes, you have to understand maybe where they're coming from, why they have come up with that attitude about it. Okay, job satisfaction is it's essentially how you feel. Are you happy with your work? Are you happy with what you do? And there's 3 different things we talk about. One is organizational citizenship behavior. That's doing things that are above and beyond the call of duty, staying late, helping someone else with, even though it's not in your job description, helping someone else with their project because, you have the time and that needs to get done for the greater good of the organization. Workplace deviance is any kind of thing that's going to cause dysfunction. It could be gossiping. It could be withholding information. It could be throwing up roadblocks. It could be, negative talk, that kind of thing. And then organizational commitment is essentially why someone wants to stay with an organization. Why is it that someone stays at a place? There are essentially 3 different types: affective, continuance, and normative. We'll talk about those right now. Affective is someone's desire to remain in an organization because they really want to. They feel good about it. They like their job. They're fulfilled in their job. They are happy with their salary. They're happy with their responsibilities. Continuance is because people can't afford to leave, either because of the outside job market. Maybe there's no other jobs. Maybe they can't have to stay because they can't because of the salary or because of the benefits or because they're locked in on and staying in an area, a geographic area. Maybe it's because they don't have enough experience yet to move on to another organization. And then normative is this idea that people stay someplace because um, they feel that they have to stay. They feel that the organization needs them. Um, they feel this obligation, and that's normative. Okay, so oftentimes when people have attitudes, other people try to change their attitude, try to persuade them to feel differently about it. And there are essentially three different things that impact it: the source, the person who's trying to change someone's mind; the target, the person whose mind is trying to be changed; and then what's the message itself. So, for example, if you're looking to find out something, just not in the work experience, work life, but if you're trying to find a great restaurant to go to, you're going to talk to someone who really likes food or understands food or goes to a lot of restaurants, and you appreciate what their expertise, and you trust them because maybe they gave you good advice before. And also attractiveness, as shallow as that sounds, how attractive we find the source to be, whether it be like emotionally, physically attractive, then we tend to take their opinion a little bit higher. Now, the idea of the target is a high or low self-esteem. And that can kind of play either way, but some people are easier to persuade than others. And if someone has high self-esteem, maybe they're hard to persuade, or maybe that person with high self-esteem is able to accept information because they don't feel threatened by taking information from someone else. And the message itself, does the message come, is it biased, is it balanced? Do you know that person who's giving you the information or trying to persuade you, do you know that they have some sort of ulterior motive? Are they skewing the information one way, far to the left or far to the right, far to the left or far to the right, or far one way or far the other way? Okay, moving on. We're going to talk about emotions. We're finished with attitudes, we're moving on to emotions. All right, so emotions and moods. Emotions are discrete, which means they are easily separated out, fairly short-lived, that have some sort of specific known cause. You get your car, you have a parking ticket, you're angry. And you understand you're angry because of the fact that you got a parking ticket, or the copy machine is broken and you're angry because the copy machine is broken, or you're happy because you just got a raise or whatever. Moods are something that's a little bit more complicated. It's made up of various emotions, and it tends to last longer. And they may or may not have a specific cause. It could just have to do with your personality, which was what we talked about before, right? And then there's also this whole idea of emotional contagions. Emotional contagion, a contagion in science and biology is something, an illness or something that can spread around. A virus or a bug or whatever. Not necessarily a virus, but trying to think of the word. What's the other besides virus? But I think you know what I mean. Something that's easily caught. Like a cold is easily caught. So. Bacteria, that's the word I'm looking for. So anyway, emotions are the same way. We kind of talked about that. We were talking before about positive and negative affect in chapter 3. It's the same kind of thing. If someone is, you're talking about people who have infectious personalities, people who get you very enthused about something, or people who are just downers, who sort of spread this negativity around. That's an emotional contagion. That the emotions of one person can be transferred to another person. And usually through nonverbal channels. Can be verbal or nonverbal channels. It's an emotional contagion. You want to be careful of people who spread around negative emotions. All right, and emotional intelligence. Over and over again, you see these articles about what is it that people are looking for in leaders. Emotional intelligence is this relatively new concept in management and in psychology, I would say 15, 20 years. And it's essentially the ability to recognize your emotions and the emotions of others, and being able to manage those and being able to respond to those. Emotional intelligence can be negative or positive. Someone with high emotional intelligence might also be very manipulative because they can really speak to someone and they can manipulate someone. But emotional intelligence on the positive side, trying to stay on the positive side, can be things that you understand the situation someone's in, and you're able to adapt to that, and offer solutions that are going to benefit them and the organization. Okay, so now we're moving on to the last section, which is ethics. So essentially, ethics have become more and more prevalent in business curriculum in recent years because there have been so many ethics violations in business that we've seen. Enron locally, of course, Adelphia, Bernie Madoff. Remember the Bernie Madoff scandal locally? Also, Tonawanda Coke, which was, blatantly violating environmental laws with leaking the benzene into the atmosphere. So these are in terms of these are like ethical decisions that impacted the internal and external environment of the organization. So ethics, people talk about ethics more and more, and ethics are being regulated more and more. You see it in the banking industry, you see it with environmental issues, that kind of thing. So ethical decision making essentially requires three qualities: competence, being able to look at a situation and look at the upside and the downside of it. Self-confidence is the ability to feel self-confident enough to seek out opinions from experts to see what they think what should be done. That you don't just you're so great that you don't have to consult with anybody. No, to be ethical, you have to sometimes get other people's opinions because other people view things in different ways, and it's important to be able to see things from multiple viewpoints. And then willingness to make a decision that might be difficult to make. When we talk about no unambiguous solution, that this idea that ambiguity is something that's vague. It can have multiple interpretations. So that's the idea of ambiguity. So again, a lot of it has to do with self-confidence and ability, self-confidence, willingness to take in information from other people, willingness to make hard decisions, and knowing what is doing what's best, doing what's right. Ethics is a study of right and wrong. Okay, an important part of ethics are values. So essentially, values are things that we hold to be important. Like, people value hard work, people value family, people value dedication, people value honesty, that kind of thing. So there's instrumental values, that the idea that there's behavior that's accepted, that's to achieve some sort of goal. And terminal values are values that influence goals to be achieved or the end states of existence. So terminal values affect the goal itself. Instrumental is the way you get there. Okay, then there's work values. We're going to talk about this again in Chapter 5 when we talk about motivation. But work values tend to influence people's perceptions of right and wrong. And some people are motivated by achievement. Some are motivated by concern for others, fairness, honesty, that kind of thing. So work values, these are the things we talk about. What is it is achievement important? Is getting the job done important? Or is taking care of the workforce important? That kind of thing. And then of course honesty and fairness. When people are interviewed or surveyed and asked the most important quality they look for in a leader, the top answer overall is honesty. Just thought I'd toss that in there. Okay, Machiavelli. I don't know if any of you studied him in high school. Many of you may have. It's this idea of the ends justify the means. So Machiavelli was I always get this confused, but I think he's 15th or 16th century Italian who was not a nice guy. And so we talk about high mocks and low mocks. A high mock is better to be feared than loved. It's someone who rules with an iron fist and says, like, this is what's going to happen, and it doesn't matter because the ends justify the means. Even though I might not be going through this in a very ethical way, the end is going to be the best thing. Low mocks, on the other hand, value loyalty in relationships, are concerned with other people's opinions. If we think back to I forget, first or second chapter, we talked about Hofstede's cultural dimensions. We talked about a feminine culture and a masculine culture. The high Mach would probably be a more masculine culture, and the low Mach would be a more feminine culture. I'm not saying that it falls into that, but that all people in a masculine culture are high Machs. That's not what the point I'm trying to make. The point I am trying to make is that you can relate that to other information we talked about in the class and other theories we've talked about in the class. But Machiavellianism, you might want to ask yourself what kind of boss do you want to have? Do you want to have one who likes to be feared, or do you want one who's trying to build consensus and take everyone's opinion in? Okay, and then finally in this chapter, we talk about cognitive moral development. And essentially, it's the process that stages of maturity in terms of making ethical decisions. Now, this is not necessarily age bound. Level 1 essentially is you're just trying to avoid punishment and you are trying to just serve your immediate interest. Level 2 is you're trying to live up to expectations and societal, friends' expectations, family's expectations, society's laws. You've kind of moved away from serving your immediate interest, but you're just trying to please others. When we talked about the Maslow's need hierarchy, to a certain extent, it's this idea of at the sort of a social level. I'm not saying that they're compatible, but it's the same idea, like thinking of social pressure and peer pressure. And then finally, level 3 is the principled level, and that you make questions based on the greater good and what's best for the world. You look at principles of justice, right and wrong, and you have your own ethical principles. So that's cognitive moral development. Again, not tied in with age at all, but it's this idea that, how do we make decisions? Do we make decisions based just on ourselves and what we need? Do we make the decisions based on the people around us and what they're going to think, in our tight circle, or based on what's legislated, or do we make decisions based on some greater good or more long-term goals? Okay, so that's it for chapter 4 in the first section of the class, and that's that. So if you have any questions, please, as you know, I always say give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'm more than happy to discuss it with you. Okay, hope these tapes are helpful, and be in touch, and we'll see you after the first test.